Hey guys, and welcome to the live maths lesson. I'm going to give it a go. Sorry if you've already been waiting around. When you do arrive, just pop your name into the chat and a question you'd like to go over, and that'll be really useful. Hi guys, when you come along, pop your name in the chat, put a question you want to work on. Once we've got a few more people, we'll start the lesson. Basically, it's just going to be going through the questions, working through one by one, and you can pop in the chat, ask anything that you need to. If you're having problems using the chat, ping me over an email. I've got my emails open next to me as well. Please put something in the chat, send me an email, let me know you're listening. and then once we've got a few more people, we'll get started. If you know people who might want to watch, send them a message, let them know that it's live, ready to go. You'll see that what I've got is I've got the questions all set up, ready to go. So we'll just talk them through and see how people communicate there if you need to ask any questions. You can tell me where you're at and we can go from there. When you log on, just put something in the chat so I can see who's here and put some questions that you want to go over. I know some people have already emailed me, but if not, just whack it in the chat so I can see who's here and what you want to go through. Okay, cheers Evie. Yeah, I've got the questions all geared up, set to go. So I've got every single one there, you'll see. They're all there. So we'll work through them all. I just want to make sure we're focusing on the ones that people need most. Question 5, Emily. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you. I think that's the one I've had most people asking about with the trapezium. So I'll just give it another minute and then I'll start going through stuff. Should be a little bit smoother today. Hopefully you'll see an improvement in the penmanship today. Just out of interest, was there an issue getting onto the feed to begin with? I think I'd put it as unlisted. Cheers, Dan. Yeah, I'll go through the trapezium question. But just out of interest from you guys, was there an issue getting onto the video? It was there from about, well, it's just after past. Was there an issue getting on? Has it only just become available? Hey Tom, yeah, I'm going to go through question 5. That seems to be the one that people want to go through. There was a bit of an issue. Thanks for that, that's good. I've made it public now, so basically anybody could be listening in, but it's all recorded, so there shouldn't be any issues. So what I'll do, I'll crack on. What I'm going to just go through... Oh yeah, so definitely an issue. Probably once I made it public, it was people were able to get on then. Okay. I'm just going to go through the first few. And if you could just pop an answer in the chat, that'd be useful, just to show me that you've got an understanding. If there's any questions as we go through, then I'll try and answer them as best I can, and we'll go from there. Okay, so looking at question 1, A and B, that should have been relatively straightforward. When we got the factorising, what were people getting for the factorising? What would the brackets be? Cheers, Eric. Yeah, we'll get to question 6 as well. So we're just looking at question 1 at the minute. Okay, Hannah, has Poppy got a YouTube account? I don't know if it's blocking people who haven't got a YouTube account. Hi, Jack. Yeah, question 6 we'll go through in a minute. Anybody got an answer for question 1? So it's like we're back in the classroom, isn't it? Taking a while to come through. Tom, here we go. So Tom's saying x minus 9, x minus 3. We agree. Pretty straightforward. you're looking for your factors of 27 that add to make negative 12. Well, multiply the 9 and the 3, and that's going to get you to negative 27. Positive 27, because negative multiplied by a negative, and then when you add them, you get to negative 12. So that's for suit. And then it says solve if that's equal to 0. What does that mean about one of the brackets? If we're saying it's equal to 0, what does that mean about one of the brackets? That's right, Dan. One's got to equal 0. So if x minus 9 was equal to 0, then x must equal 9. Or if x minus 3 was equal to 0, then x has got to equal 3. Yeah, that's right, Hannah. Well done. So we agreed on those two for the solutions. What about with part B then? For part B, what's that an example of? That question there is an example of a particular type. A quadratic? What type of quadratic is it? So when you've got y squared minus 100, what type of quadratic are we talking about there? Or if we're not sure on that, what are the brackets going to be if we're factorising it? Y minus 10. That would only be one bracket. So, yeah, we've got y minus 10 plus 10. And y plus 10. Good. If you haven't mentioned who you are, some of you with your weird and wonderful YouTube names, it'd be useful for you to tell me who you are, because I can't see just from your tiny little pictures. So please tell me who you are so I know to shout you out for an answer. Yeah, that's good, Emily. But again, those first few questions should have been straightforward. Okay, moving on to question 2. Now, the reason you should know that you're going to still factorise this is because it just says solve. You've got to start being critical of the questions. Talked about instinct in lessons before, you'll remember, hopefully. You need to be using your instincts. Because it just says solve, we should be looking at using factorising. So, because it's 2, you've got a 2x squared. Still makes it relatively straightforward because you know that one of the brackets has got to have 2x in and the other has got to have x in. And that's got to be equal to 0. And you can still use your picture if you want to. So I'd fully expect to see this sort of thing going on. So if that area there is 2x squared, one of those has got to be 2x and the other's got to be 1x. We then need the -3 in the bottom right corner, and we need to go from here to get 2 numbers. Well, we can only have 2 numbers for 3, so it's going to be 1 and 3, but it does matter which way round it is in this case, because if you get it the wrong way round, you're not going to get your 5x that you also need to get. So you need to get 5x here. So just putting it this way, might be lucky. Let's see what we get. That'd give you. Oh, hang on a minute. We need to make one negative, don't we? If I need to make positive 5, I'm probably going to need the smaller number to be negative. So let's take a gamble on that. 3 multiplied by the 2x would give plus 6x here. -1 multiplied by the x there gives you -x, which that does work. So you might want to just fill these out here and here. So 2x minus 1, x plus 3. So then you'd have x is equal to a half. Or x equals -3. Happy with that? I'm aware that some of you can't see some of my workings now, so change the view, see if you can see that. There we go. Are you happy with that? Does that make sense? Just give me a thumbs up or a yes in the comments, the chat. Cheers Tom, cheers Evie. Jack, good. Thanks Dan. I think bottom far, that's Jack, isn't it? Jack T. Thank you. Cheers Emily. Alright, I'll move on to the next question. I think that's most of the people that are here and can comment. So, with question 3, you've got a little bit of a hint here that you need to do something a bit different. The hint being that it says this here, about 2 decimal places. The fact it says 2 decimal places means that you're going to need to be using your formula. So, firstly, I'd expect to see a question like this. I'd expect to see the formula written out. You should be able to remember it. And then you should be working through that with the numbers involved. Now, you might not have done it at this point, but what I would like to see is you going through and replacing each of the values. So that's your A, that's your B, that's your C value. So therefore, I would expect to see in your workings something along these lines. Now you might sort of say, but sir, I don't need to do that. It's just whack it all in the calculator and it'll do it for me. But particularly when you've got negatives flying around, it might lead to some errors. And actually just writing this out properly with your square root sign going over the whole of the top of that bit and the division sign going all the way along the bottom will get you some credit. Now, I don't have a calculator, so I'm relying on you guys for an answer. So what did we come up with here for an answer for 2 decimal places, please? I'm aware there's a little bit of a delay, but if you could just give me an answer as quickly as you can. Yeah, that's right, Evie, yeah. Apologies. Oh, that's not the eraser. And that's exactly why you need to write it out first. Well spotted. Apologies, yeah, my mistake. Rushing through it. Yeah. It is 2 times 5. You're all correcting me now. Brilliant. Now it really does feel like being back in class. So what's the answer to 2DP then? (0.27) and negative 1.47. Are we agreeing with Tom there? Yeah, agreed. Cool. Alright. Good. Apologies for the delay. I do want it to be a bit smoother. Hopefully, you're finding it smoother on the penmanship. Anyway, I'm not going to go through question 4 because that's the same, and nobody's asked to go over question 4. So, if you do want to go over question 4, then ask me at the end. Question 5 is the one that people wanted to spend most time over. So, make it a little bit smaller. Ooh, I don't want to do that. That's better. Right. So, you've got a trapezium. The first thing you need to know is the area of a trapezium. You're never going to get given this unless for some crazy reason they want to show it you. You would be expected to know what the area of a trapezium is. So the area of a trapezium is equal to a half of A plus B multiplied by H. Now we had a question like this just before we went off. So A and B are the parallel sides. So this is A, this B. Doesn't matter which way around you label them, and that's the height. But that would also be the same if you had a trapezium that's going that way. That would be A, that would be B, and that would be the height. Doesn't matter which way around it is. You just need to understand that the A and B are the parallel lengths. Now, you're told in the question, get my old highlighter out again actually, enjoying that. You're told that the area is that. I'm not going on to the last bit of the question because I'm thinking, right, I know this up here, and I know what the area is because I've got that there. So what I need to do is I need to be writing 351 is equal to a half of x minus 4 plus x plus 5 all multiplied by 2x. Does that make sense? Some quick yeses when you hear it would be useful. Okay, good. Then you just got to work through with this equation in order to work out, or show, sorry, you get that. So, 351 staying there for now. And you've got a half of all of this in the brackets, so I'm going to keep my half there for now. I'm going to simplify the brackets first, which is 2x plus 1. Still multiplied by 2x. Still got my 351 here. Now it's a half of 2x. This is all a multiplication now. It's a half multiplied by 2x plus 1 multiplied by 2x. So therefore I could just do a half of 2x, which is just 1x. So I'd probably write that now as 2x plus 1 multiplied by x. And that will give me that 351 is equal to 2x squared plus x when we expand this bit. Well, wait a minute, 2x squared looks like what I needed over here, plus x looks like what I need over here, and I've got 351, but I need to equal 0, so I can just subtract my 351 from both sides. That will leave me with the 0, and you'll be left with your 2x squared plus x minus 351. And that has shown it. Hopefully, are we happy with that? Again, quick yeses, and I can move on to the next bit. Okay, so then the next bit just tells you to work out the value of x. Well, you could go through and attempt to factorise it, but with the numbers being so big, so just to write it out again so you've got it there, you've got your 2x squared plus x minus 351 equals 0. I would probably be looking at using the formula again. And I'm writing it out in full just to remind myself so I don't make another mistake like I did last time. So let's see, what have we got? So we've got -1 plus or minus the root of 1 squared minus 4 multiplied by 2 multiplied by negative 351. Extend my root sign so it goes over everything. Divide sign going underneath everything. 2 multiplied by 2. And I'd be putting that into my calculator and going from there. If you're able to spot it quicker some other way, brilliant. It might well be that you'd get there pretty quickly. So what do we get? There's our two values. Any suggestions on those two values? Just got 13. So let's go through it, shall we? See what we've got. So that would be equal to -1 plus or minus 1 square is easy. So 2 lots of 351 is 702. Double that would be 1404. So was it 1404? I've got to double that again, so it's 2,808. So we're doing the root of 2809. All over 4. Am I talking absolute nonsense there? Okay, I think that's right with the workings out in terms of using the formula. What you could have done though, you could have spotted potentially that it was 2x plus 27 multiplied by x minus 13. Cheers, Tom. Always reassuring as always. I'll try and talk it back through afterwards. So what you're looking for is, if you're trying to do your grid, you're going to end up with 2x squared up here. You'll have negative 351. This is why it's tricky to do it this way. But you'd be able to go through you'll be able to go through and work out your factors of negative 351. How do I go down the page? I don't want to do that. Extend the page again. Sorry, I was talking about 351. So you could go through your factors of 351. So you still know that's got to be 2x, and you know that's got to be x. Now, you need two numbers that are going to have a difference of 1 because you've got 1x, but when 1 is doubled. So you just be go through looking for your factors. That would take a long time, but eventually you would get to that you can have 27, and that can be negative 13, because negative 13 multiplied by the 2x would give you minus 26x, and that would give you plus 27x. If I go back to the bit at the top, the root of 2,809 is 53, so you'd end up with negative 1 plus or minus 53 divided by 4. So if that was negative 1, add 53, that'd be 52, which is 13. Or you'd have negative 1, subtract 53, which is negative 54 divided by 4, which is negative 13 and a half. Why does it say only one value of x? Well, there's a shape, so it's got to be a positive length, so you've got to go with x equaling 13. So just to recap, I would personally go into using the formula, and you put that into your calculator, and that would give you your answers as either being negative 54 over 4 or positive 52 over 4, which is negative 13.5 or positive 13, because you've got a shape it's 13. It has to be the positive length. Does that make sense? Have I rescued you, Tom? Okay, Hannah, what I'll do, I'll go on to do another couple of questions, and then I'll come back to this one if people want to go back to it. Yeah? Yeah, I appreciate it, because I put two lots of working out probably is a bit confusing, so I'll go back to it and try and explain each bit. Alright? So I'll come back to it at the end if other people want to shoot off. Okay, so question 6, we've got completing the square. What we got to do first with completing the square, what have you got to do first with completing the square? So what have we got, guys? Come on. Oh, here we go. Divide the b value by 2. Yeah, perfect. There we go. So, end up with x plus 5. That's all squared. Still got my plus 18. That hasn't gone anywhere, but I need to subtract the b, this new value here, squared. And then simplify. It's be negative 7. So then I'm trying to find the turning point. How do I find the turning point from that information? What have I got to do? where are the coordinates? There's a coordinate in there somewhere for the turning point. Where is it? +5 and -7. Those are the two key bits, Dan. You're right. With this +5 here, you've got to imagine as if you've got your quadratic graph. If you're adding 5 to x and then you're squaring it, you've moved the graph the other way. That makes sense. If I wanted the turning point to be at 0, 0, for example, I've actually subtracted 5. X add 5 would be 0. That makes sense. Don't necessarily need to understand that now, but what I have sort of explained to you before is that the coordinates of the turning point are always the negative of the value in the brackets and then whatever the value is outside. So Tom, I think you've got that correct there. Well done. Good. I'm glad you understand that, Dan. It's a tricky aspect of mathematics, this graph and shifting the graph around. So we'll be talking about that in year 11. Then we've got question 7. Write 2x squared plus 16x plus 35 in the form of a brackets x plus b all squared plus c. If you saw the video last week, you probably would have got it, I'd have thought. Basically, way to do it, take out the 2 as a factor. So that gives you x squared plus 8x plus 35 over 2. Then complete the square like you normally would. There's a bracket in there. Subtract the 16 because that's the 4 squared. And then add 35 over 2. Then is that going to give us all integers? That's not going to give integers. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will. So then what you could do is simplify. If that's negative 16, that would be negative 32 over 2 plus 35 over 2. Which will give you 2 x plus 4 all squared plus 3 over 2. And then when you expand out those brackets, you'll end up with 2 brackets x plus 4 all squared plus 3. So therefore A equals 2, B equals 4, C equals 3. So I'm taking 2 out as a factor of the whole lot, Evie. I mean, another way of doing it, can you avoid doing that? Because what I'm saying in the first instance is that I'm taking 2 out as a factor. So if I'm taking 2 out as a factor, I'm taking out out of each element. So I'm taking it out of that bit. Oh, actually, I don't like that. I'm taking it out of that bit there, and that bit there, and that bit there. Does that make sense? I'm taking it out as a factor of everything. I mean, what you could do with it is you could take out 2 as a factor of the 2x squared, and of the 16x, and then when you get this negative 16 here, you just have to remember to double it to make it the negative 32, and then just leave your 35 at the end. Okay. Basically, the way I do any question like that is I always take out whatever the coefficient is as a factor and even make that into a fraction, and then I can make a common denominator here like I have. That's the way I go about it. Any other questions on what there is there before I go back to question 5b with Hannah, assuming Hannah's still here? Okay, so my understanding is there is another question. Oh, hence or otherwise. So once you've got those solutions, you can work out the coordinates of the turning point. So it doesn't affect the turning point because the turning point will still be that value. So you've got that it is go back, just forgotten now. So 2, oh gosh, don't want the highlighter on, do I? Two brackets x plus 4 squared plus 3. Was it plus 3? It was plus 3, wasn't it? Yeah, plus 3 equals 0. So your turning point this time is equal to it's definitely 3. I'll be brutally honest, I can't remember. I think it's still the -4 because you're still having to move the graph by that amount. I'll check that and get back to you. I'll put it in the comments or send out an email. Any other questions people want to ask? Anything you're struggling with? Anything that I can help you with maths related? Before I go back. Oh, I haven't done that. Oh, that last one's easy though as well, isn't it? Okay, I'll take that as a no. I'll quickly go over the graph. Write down the values of the turning point. So your turning point is there. That's the turning point. Your roots. So you've got one there and one there. And then your y-intercept is there. And that's just reading a graph. Alright, please, I'm noticing that people are disappearing now off it. Can you please hit a like, give me some feedback if it was useful, send me an email just to say what was good, what could be better. And then what I'm thinking is, if people would like it, to make it like a weekly thing, that it'll be at this time every week, if that suits. So let me know what your thoughts are. Has it been useful? Would it be helpful to go on forwards doing the same, like once a week at least, at this sort of time, if that would be useful? Alright, so those people who are shooting off, thank you very much. And then I'll go back to this question with Hannah. So start all over again. Thanks, Emily. Nice to know. Okay, Hannah, so I'll take you back through this one now, but I'm glad you found it useful. Ultimately, I want to teach you guys, so if this is the only way I can do it at the moment, then I want to do it. Right, So with this question, I said that the way I'd be looking to go about it would be using the formula. So Hannah, hopefully you know the formula as being what we talked about earlier. Okay. Then substitute in your values. So just make sure you've identified. So just right there. So that's your A, that's your B, and that's your C value. And I wouldn't necessarily be expecting you to do any of this off the top of your head. Your B value is 1, not X, by the way. So it's -1 plus or minus the square root of 1 squared minus 4 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 351. That's negative 351. And then all over 2a, so 2 multiplied by 2. Now what I'm then saying, Hannah, is to try and simplify that. And you can use a calculator to simplify it stage by stage. Well, the -1 stays the same. Then you've got plus or minus, you've got √1, well that's still just 1. Minus 4 multiplied by 2. So what I did with this bit is I just did 2 multiplied by -351. So that would give you -702. I've then got to multiply all of that, all of the 702 by -4. Well, if I double it and it's a negative, it's going to make it positive, so it'll turn around to being 1404. And then I double that again, because that I've only doubled it there, whereas I need to multiply by 4, but multiplying by 4 is doubling and then doubling again. So that would get me 2808. So I've got 1 plus, because I've now made that a positive, 2808 all over 2 multiplied by 2, which I can just put as 4 now. Okay, and then that is equal to -1 plus or minus the root of 2809, which again I'm not expecting you to know, just pop that into your calculator, and that's over 4, and that is -1 plus or minus 53, it was, wasn't it? 53, and that's all still divided by 4. So then if you've got -1 add 53, that comes out as being 52. So x equals -1 add 53 over 4. That's equal to 52 over 4, which equals 13. Or x is equal to -1 minus 53 over 4, which is equal to -54 over 4, which equals -13.5. Does that make sense now? Ow. Yeah, you sure? Don't just say it and not know that I'm here, so if you need me then ask a question. But if you do get it, that's helpful. The test should be the same questions, just with different numbers, I think, off the top of my head. What do you think about a weekly lesson? Does that seem like something that would be good? Alright then, so you got any more questions? If that's it, then I'll let you go. Thanks Hannah, thanks Emily. Make sure you hit the like button so it looks good for my channel. Alright guys, look after yourselves then, stay safe, and I'll speak to you next week.